We're going to have about 25-minute, very brief artist vignette. We're going to have Ana Bermudez, the commissioner for the New York City Department of Probation, come on up. She will also talk a little bit about a network of community centers that are being activated by artists. We are very fortunate to have one of those artists with us today that Ana will introduce. So without further ado, Ana Bermudez.
I don't believe this, but I cannot see the screens, so I'm hoping that, can somebody tell me what is showing on the screens right now? Me, okay. So, that's not good. So my name is Ana Bermudez. I'm the commissioner for the New York City Department of Probation, and since I can't see too many people because I'm short, I'm gonna stand up here. I wanted to introduce this next piece by talking to you, putting it in context. We at Probation have decentralized our probation offices and our probation work and have gone into the community. So we have 7 community-based offices that are more than just brick and mortar. Okay, they're an approach and an attitude and a way that we work with clients that is more welcoming, more hopeful than it's ever been before. We've transformed our what's showing now? Is the slide showing now or not? Yes, okay. So that, that says the Jamaica neon, correct? Okay, so that is a before and after look at our Jamaica office. And this will be this is what happened in the Bronx. And as you can see on the left-hand side, it was probably worse than DMV, and now it is not. And so what's important about that is that these places are, everything that happens in these offices are available for people on probation and for people in the community, okay? And what happens in there are GED classes, their ID/NYC, health insurance enrollers, any number of health benefits, all sorts of things that happen there, and they're open to the community. We also have nutrition kitchens, so I was very excited to hear about food. And the nutrition kitchens are available to people on probation every day and people in the community once a week, et cetera, et cetera. I also want to thank RIP for your investment in our work. That's very, very exciting for us. And each of these offices have stakeholder groups. This is the other thing. We've been talking about sharing power or voice, right? So the stakeholder groups are comprised of, co-chaired by someone from the Department of Probation, who's not necessarily a manager or an administrator, and somebody from the community. And they make the decisions about how, if there's any money flowing in or programming flowing into the neons, this stakeholder group makes that decision. So the reason we're here today is because our signature program, I hate calling it a program because it's a way of being, is called Neon Arts. And we, it was very interesting in the panel as people were saying how art existing here and then, you know, the other work existing here. We had a relationship with Carnegie Hall in which Carnegie Hall used to come in to our offices, or we were in other, sometimes in detention facilities, et cetera, and they would do a project, and they would do, and so we existed. So the neons, and when we became partners with Carnegie Hall in this effort, it was about being part of that fabric of decision-making together in this. And so neither Carnegie Hall nor us decided what would be brought into the community. The community would decide what kind of arts programming would be brought into the community. And the people who applied to the RFPs that were totally local, have to make a presentation. They have to make a pitch. And part of the pitch has to be, what connections do you have to this community? What are you bringing to this community? So that way, an Alvin Ailey could compete with the local artist, and Alvin Ailey may not get it, you know. And so it's been an incredible, incredible experience. And the one other piece I'm gonna say is the location of the neons is also very important. They're located in the 7 communities where there's a significant number of people on probation who live there. And part of this effort is also to work with our communities, with the communities that our clients call home, to make sure they don't continue to be defined by their worst statistics. That there is an investment in them, that creative investment, and pulling in resources that generally are not pulled into the justice field. So, without further ado, I am going to present to you Nicole Shawan Jr., who's been one of our grantees in the past and a great contributor to our work.
Good evening, everyone. It's a bit of a trip. About a year ago, I was actually reporting to the Department of Probation as a felon who was under supervision, and now I'm partnering with the New York City Department of Probation, and I'm here at the Federal Reserve Bank. That's kind of crazy. So I'm gonna start with a piece. No One Survives the Smoke. Coney Island, Brooklyn, 2017. I pull onto Daddy's block. The stocky frame houses stacked next to one another like planks on the boardwalk. It's late fall, so there is ample street parking, unlike the summer months when cars crush into one another like Colt 45 cans. A distant car horn buzzes angrily on the Ave. Roxy barks from behind the ground level window that overlooks the street. Daddy stands in his front yard behind a tall guard gate, eyeing me as I line my car up against the stretch of curb in front of his house. He pulls one last drag before flicking his stogie to the cement, heading in my direction. Flatbush, 1987. Mornings are the same in our busy one-bathroom apartment. I lean onto the sink. My left palm anchors against its cool as I tiptoe, hoisting high enough to see my 6-year-old reflection in the mirror. Gripping a small pink toothbrush, I studiously scrub the bubblegum tasting paste side to side across my top front teeth and the gap that smack between them. Scrip, scrip, scrip. Mama sits on the toilet, chin pressed into palms and wearing her mangy tee, the one with the stretched neckline and peeling bumblebee yellow lettering that reads, Bedford's Lane, Couples League. Mama's hair is a wild bed of compressed coils that spring like flowers newly freed from the heel of a hiker's boot. She sings a jazzy tune just loud enough to discern. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. Behind the shower's thick glass door, Daddy lathers himself in Old Spice, sending vanilla and cinnamon scents misting about. The running water is the boom, pap, boom, pap, boom, pap, pap, boom, pap, beneath his ritualistic chant. Daddy says our names like Saturday reruns of What's Happening and Good Times on repeat. Nikki, he says with his normal talking voice. Pam, he sings with just a tad more baritone as Mama's name swings through his mouth like bebop for just an extra beat. Then he spits Nikki again, boom, pap. The rhythm is always the same every shower he takes, no matter script, script, script. We keep to our morning routine, for the Bible says, but it still is news. As if Nikki, Pam is the bass to our beat. Coney Island, 2017. Hey, baby girl. Daddy breathes before stretching his lean arms around me and planting a wet kiss on my cheek. His mouth set solemnly, a far cry from his usual wide smile. It's been at least a year since the last time I was here. That time, like most, the house was packed with family delighting over Daddy's famous barbecue. A spades game erupted into havoc in the backyard. The earthy smell of his current wife's curry chicken danced with the sea in the air. This time, the scent of Daddy's Newport hovers as familiar as Old Spice all those decades ago. My fingers latch onto his back. I bury my face into his chest. I inhale him and I bawl. I've just been named a defendant in a 10-count indictment, and I'm terrified. That piece was published by Roxanne Gay in her magazine, Gay Mag. Hello, my name is Nicole Shawan Jr. Thank you. I read to you an excerpt, and you can read the rest at Gay Mag. My name is Nicole Shawan Jr., and I'm the creator of the Roots Wounds Words Writing Workshop. I am a 2 times Neon Arts teaching artist, grant recipient. I have taught my writing workshops, which are based on narrative nonfiction and memoir, to over 50 storytellers in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Brownsville. As a result of my partnership with Neon Arts, my workshop participants are Black, Indigenous, Latinx, POC. They are poverty-born, they are queer, they are trans, they are gender non-conforming, they are formerly incarcerated, they are currently justice involved. Most of my workshop participants come in not considering themselves writers, afraid to put and pen their stories on the page because they've been silenced by systems and structures and individuals in power for the majority of their lives. By the time they leave, they have written over a dozen essays, and they've also performed in at least 4 public readings. 90% of them is their first time reading, especially reading from their own lives in public. What you're about to watch are 2 excerpts of a video where you're gonna actually hear from those participants. I hope you enjoy.
Workshop helped me dealing with my own struggles and poverty through the shelter system with my kids. The way the writing workshop helped me is it helped me release feelings that were bottled in. It helped me to even find answers within my writing, and just it was like my own therapist, you know, writing about these things in the workshops and being around other people helped me tremendously, and to know and to learn that I'm not alone, because for a very long time I felt like I was alone.
Did everyone speak? All right, dope. Diverting eye contact, and then Sharon, what you were saying about choose what I want to do when I want to do it, and I was like, yo, I'm so glad you went there. And we're honest about it, because I'm sure a lot of people felt that way too. Like, who the fuck is this person to tell me that I have to do this thing that I don't want to do, and I don't know any of these people, right? Like, I get that. How is that the writer's way? Right? Like, I'm not asking a rhetorical question, right? This is a real question. How often in your writing practice have you sat down to write this thing? That can be like a huge traumatic experience thing, or a huge transformative without the trauma thing. But for some reason, even though you sat to write that thing, you can't write it. You don't write it because it ain't what you want to write right now. So instead, I'm going to write this other thing that's easier.
I want to tell that story about my marriage. I don't want to tell a story about marriage, period. Because my marriage story, you know, I always thought your marriage story, you know, has to be, you know, Obama-like. It was hard, that first writing assignment that you gave. I couldn't understand. Why am I crying so much? And a lot of the reasons had to do with feeling shame, but mostly like failure. Like, bitch, you was married twice and that shit didn't work out twice? Like, well, what's wrong with you? And then I started thinking, like, as I was writing that list and writing all the reasons I didn't want to tell the story, then it suddenly became very clear, like, well, you know what? This is why you have to tell the story. What didn't I like about the workshop? You being a badass chick and making us do stuff that we didn't want to do, pulling us out of self. Having us to understand that it was about us. Like, I don't really curse, but like, F everybody else. Just do you. Because this is what it is. And put it down. If it don't feel good, dump it. There was no mistakes. That was the best part. There was never no mistakes. No matter what you wrote. Nicole, you always said there was never no mistakes. Write what you feel, even if it's one word. Just put it on paper. So
I think that was more of a challenge for most of us in there because we came in there with some stuff. I think a lot of us left still with some stuff, but it wasn't as crucial and as harsh.
There's actually one more clip. Despite the structures and systems and individuals in positions of power that silence these writers, particularly poverty-born writers of color every day, they really did work their behinds off to be as vulnerable as they possibly could be in this workshop. And so you're going to see a bit of that now.
I want to write about it because I want to have a forum for myself to be able to deal with those wounds that still haven't dealt with, because there's a lot of things that I still haven't addressed. I might look like I'm successful, but there's still a lot of things that are suppressed, whether consciously or unconsciously. So writing about it would allow me to deal with some of the wounds that I have underneath the surface, but as well as inspire others who don't have that voice or who have not been able to accomplish some of the things that I have, to know that there's hope, that you can move beyond your present situation, even with a criminal record or even if you're Black or Hispanic.
I was born in Neptune, New Jersey with a birth certificate absent of my parents' names. I'm convinced that I was not necessarily born, but ordained by a wish my mother did not make, a wish I did not make when I had my daughter.
The hard plastic of my mom's chancleta made me who I am, a friend declares. She says she will use this same technique to keep her kids in line. Hay que darle al niño su pau pau para que él sepa, mother says. Parents who discipline their kids by sending them to timeout, by grounding them, by taking away their toys. That was the domain of white kids who got away with slamming doors closed without the threat of a slap to the mouth. It was not the domain of 4 Dominican American kids with the Dominican-ass mom who firmly believed in regular applications of the correa.
Does this body belong to me? The smells of the kitchen range from a mix of a black Dax and Glover's Mane hair grease to grow my hair. Most of my friends already had hair with length. That seemed to be the look. I wasn't sure, but if my mother straightened my hair, I thought it would receive a length. Mommy didn't speak while she did my hair. She concentrated on doing a great job. I thought at one time Mommy didn't like me because I would get a burn at the nape of my neck.
Word is that Abuela used to practice Santeria before she gave her life to an invisible Jesus, before the Pentecostal church saved her soul, reduced her to a wardrobe of decency and rosary beads. Papi says he doesn't believe in those things. I think in this case his lack of faith is baptized in colonialism and shame.
Am I worried about how people are going to receive my words, or am I fearful of if my words will be received, or am I scared of what people are going to say about me? I've never penned anything about my life experience. I have a million opening lines. The fear, shame, and rejection have kept me immobilized.
So Nicole, why is this important work? Why do you think this is important work?
And I think you said something recently that really stuck with me. When you have folks who are in marginalized communities and who haven't had access to community arts or cultural arts programming outside of a school forum, so outside of an environment where they have to get a grade on something, then what happens is a stifling of voices. You know, folks feel as though they can't really express themselves creatively and otherwise unless they are being judged. You know, one of the things that I came to terms with really quickly, or one of the things I felt that I had to do when I was on probation was to be, and even when I was going through my court case, was to be silent. And you had mentioned this.
Right, think about it, in the legal field, in the justice field, what is the most important right you have? To say nothing, right? And then in court, you get represented. So think about the word. You get represented to a judge, to a prosecutor, and you're sitting there going, what are they saying about me? That's not me. They're defining me by the worst thing I've probably ever done, right? And all of a sudden I have all these labels to contend with. And right? And what you're doing is extracting that label of creator, of being able to express yourself, or be you. You're gonna be you.
To be you. And I think that's exactly what Johnny May was getting to when she says you're pulling us out of ourselves. Right? So now I can actually be free and express these things that I'm going through, or these thoughts that I'm having, without fear of some type of repercussion or retaliation. We can really just be open since we're amongst friends.
That's very true. And it is what works in criminal justice. People don't see it that way. Again, back to the point that I think you made in the panel before, art, and then the work we do for, supervision, probation, and whatever. And it's their relationship that people don't appreciate, that our work of probation can really should be done through a creative process, and to be able to recast yourself as somebody who has something to contribute to this world. And that's not just monetarily paying your taxes and whatever. And it opens up other doors. Look at, do you have like an LLC, or like, do you have your own company? Is that?
Not yet.
Not yet, but that's where you're going. So, people get also a way of, be employed, self-employed in a way that, was not available before, perhaps. And you never thought of it. I never thought I could. We had one young man after a Neon Arts poetry cycle who said, I didn't even know, like, maybe I could be a poetry teacher. That never crossed his mind. But that one experience at least opened up a possibility, a lane of possibilities for the future in his life.
And on the heels of that, I have a few students. One student who never wrote before, never published anything before, after the program submitted a piece to a reputable literary journal, and they accepted it, and it'll be published within the next 2 months. Another student applied for a writing fellowship, had never even known that writing fellowships were a thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is what? People will pay me to come and write for 2 weeks? Got it. So it's just opening up worlds that we don't even know are out there, because we think that we don't have the money, or we think we don't have the support, but these opportunities are available. We just have to tell them about it.
And we also have arts and culture deserts in these communities, right? Arts classes have mostly been taken out of their schools. After school programs may not have had an art focus in those communities. There's not necessarily a lot of cultural institutions, and I believe that the strength of the work we've done with Carnegie Hall in this effort is to chip at that, and to be able to expand people's opportunities in this area in a way that awakens them, and in a way that really provides a hope to really be able to exit the system and never come back. And I hope I never see you again in that system, so you keep going to there. You're gifted. Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you for creating these opportunities.
Yeah.